Silence breaks like bone. The wind knives down the ridge, and the snowfield stiffens under starlight. A raven lifts and vanishes, and the world holds its breath. Luna said, "Move or die." Frost bites the air from her lungs as the tree line shivers. Rook ghosts from the dark, all ribs and hunger, eyes cold as iron filings. Ash whimpers beneath the fallen trunk, and the sound stings like blood in a wound. Elder thorn lingers uphill, a shadow cut from granite. Luna said, "Stay behind me." The river below roars like a throat about to close. Rook circles, reading fear like tracks. The clouds fold over the moon, and the meadow dims to a bruise. Luna said if he charges, run for the ice. A twig snaps, and time tears open. Rook launches, and the snow explodes into a white scream. Luna meets him, teeth bare, heart beating war drums against a hollow sky. Thorn steps forward, and the ridge leans with him. The storm slams the ridge, and the sky turns to ground. Snow claws at ears and swallows scent. Luna said, "Hold the trunk." Ash presses into the bark and winds into the grain. Rook fades in the white, like a ghost learning patience. Elder thorn lifts his head and tests the wind. The river voice dulls, heavy under snow. Luna said, "He will wait for our breath to slow." The drift climbs her legs and numbs the paw that landed hard. Rook's shadow reappears and slips away like doubt. Thorn nudges the lee side and opens a shelter slit. Luna said, "We live if we think like ice." A crack answers from the river, and the storm inhales again. The wind thins to a ragged whisper, and the world emerges in shards. Luna said, "Count what we have." Silence answers, then hunger speaks louder. Ash noses her chest and finds only frost. Rook's tracks braid the meadow and mock their shelter. Elderthorn exhales and dust lifts from his ruff. Luna said, "We move when the light hardens." The clouds peel, and the ridge glows like bone under skin. A crow writes a black line over the river and vanishes. The cold has teeth, and it tries every seam. Thorn said, "North slope holds elk, if ice allows." Luna nods, and the plan feels thinner than breath. They move single file along the rim, where cornices sag like trapped lungs. The river below cracks again and sends up a warning. Luna said, "Wait on the spine of the ridge." Ash steps where her paw prints stitch a path. Rook watches from a spruce island and does not blink. Elder Thorn tests each span with a measured push. The wind returns in short knives and scrapes the ears raw. Luna said, "Do not rush." A hollow thump rolls under her, and the crust trembles. Ash stumbles and catches her tail with tiny teeth. Thorn said, 3 paces to stone." The ice sighs like something giving up a secret. The ridge widens to a shelf of wind-carved ice, and a circle of stones breaks the white. Luna said, "Rest the breath, not the legs." Ash curls against her flank, and dreams twitch along his paws. Rook vanishes downslope, and the quiet hums with threat. Elder Thorn noses the stones, and finds a trace of musk. The sun crawls along a torn cloud, and throws a brief gold knife. Luna said when it fades, "We cross the shadow to timber." The gold dies, and the cold owns everything again. Ash wakes with a squeak and presses closer. Thorn said, "He follows the old game trail." Luna listens and hears the trail listening back. The storm leaves behind a silence heavy with hunger. Luna said every step must buy us breath. Ash stumbles, his ribs pushing skin like brittle twigs. Elder Thorn guides him forward with a nudge, his voice carried only in breath. Rook follows unseen, paw prints threading behind their shadows. The sun sits low, half buried in the horizon haze. Luna feels the pull of her belly clawing emptiness, yet she holds steady. She said, "The herd crossed here. Their musk lingers." Ash whimpers and presses nose to snow, tasting only frost. Thorn lifts his head, nostrils wide, and nods toward the north slope. The timber whispers of elk, but distance is a cruel ally. Luna said, he waits for us to fall, not to fight. The ridge narrows again, and with it, time. The scent of elk drifts faint but alive, stirring the marrow of hunger. Luna said, north slope still breathes. Ash lifts ears and follows, small steps trembling. Elder Thorn moves with certainty, each paw sunk in rhythm, older than memory. Rook lingers, unseen yet near, and the wind carries his musk like smoke. The trees ahead bend with snow weight, the forest line dark against the pallid light. Luna's heart presses faster, but she steadies. She said, he is behind us, but the herd is ahead. Ash coughs, the sound thin, swallowed quickly. Thorn glances once, his eyes grave, then returns to the trail. Hope feels fragile, yet it is enough to move. The forest breathes cold shadows, pine needles whispering under snow weight. Luna said, stay close, the herd hides here. Ash steps deeper, paws sinking, body shivering but eyes bright with fleeting courage. Elder Thorn leads to a hollow ringed with claw marks, and musk heavy on the air. Rook slips between trees, never breaking silence, his presence coiled and waiting. The wind threads pine scent with the sharp tang of prey, and hunger sharpens to pain. Luna lowers her muzzle to the snow and breathes in the trail, her body thrumming with urgency. She said, they are close. Thorn's ears turn to every branch crack. Ash whines low, sensing the weight of danger pressing closer. They find the tracks carved deep in snow, elk hooves pressed like scars. Luna said, they passed in haste. Ash noses the prints, breath trembling, imagination larger than truth. Elder Thorn circles the edge, marking the trail's weight. The scent is fresh but not unguarded. A distant snap echoes, and Rook's shadow fades behind a birch trunk. Hunger claws through ribs and steadies into focus. Luna said, this is where we decide. Ash trembles, pressed against her side. Thorn steps forward, his presence anchoring the moment. The forest tilts, every sound sharpened, every silence heavy. Survival waits in the next breath. The herd stirs beyond the ridge, their breath steaming the canopy. Luna whispers in growl, now they are real. Ash lifts ears, courage trembling like a spark. Elder Thorn crouches low, body a fortress carved in snow. Rook moves closer, eyes burning, hunger carved deeper than bone. The moment sharpens into a blade, prey ahead, predator behind, choice narrowing. Luna said, one mistake ends us. Ash presses against her leg, small body radiating fear and faith. Thorn's gaze locks with hers, silent agreement passing like fire in cold air. Forest holds its breath, and the world waits to see who moves first. The air tightens as the elk burst from cover and the ground starts to drum. Luna said, take the weak one and keep your feet. Ash answers with a thin yip and tries to match her stride. Elder Thorn lowers his head and hammers the snow like a living plow. Rook arcs wide with a hunter's grin carving the wind. Trees whip past and antlers flash like knives in dim light. Luna reads the herd and chooses the limper with a breath. She said, left of the birch and cut the angle. Ash slips in a churned rut and claws back, heart rattling the cold. Thorn shoves pressure into their fear and bends them inward. Rook snaps at a hawk and writes blood on the white. The herd veers into a narrow corridor of young pines. Luna feels the choice closing like jaws. She said, we do this clean or die hungry. The world is hooves and breath, and the cruel beat of time. The limper breaks from the herd and stumbles over brush, breath smoking like signal fire. Luna said, keep its shadow, and make it spend itself. Ash threads her paw prints and shakes off panic. Elder Thorn angles right to wall the elk against the ridge. Rook needles the rear and lets pain do the steering. Snow erupts under hooves and powder blinds the eyes. Luna closes, then yields a pace to save wind. she said. Patience buys flesh we can keep. Ash yelps as a twig snaps his flank and runs harder. Thorn surges and the elk falters, hips sliding on crust. Rook laughs in a growl and draws another line of red. The path narrows to rock and ice, and the choice is near. Luna tastes iron on the air and commits with a leap of faith. The elk crashes into a thicket and explodes through brittle stems, leaving a shredded wake. Luna said, "Break its line, not your bones." Ash darts left to clear a snare of roots and finds her again. Elderthorn charges through the brush and turns splinters into dust. Rook ghosts from trunk to trunk and keeps the panic hot. The limper staggers, ribs heaving, and shows the white of fear. Luna tries for the shoulder and steals only hair. She said, again cleaner. Ash barks a single spark of courage and sprints. Thorn's growl rolls like thunder from a buried storm. Rook's jaws flash near the hawk and the elk lurches. The thicket thins to open snow that waits like a stage. Luna draws air until her chest burns and chooses the finishing line. The world narrows to a heartbeat and a blade edge of choice. Luna said, "Now we trade pain for time." Ash keeps close and wears bravery like a second skin. Elderthorn takes the inside lane and forces the elk to show its throat. Rook surges to the right and clamps air where the leg was. Snow smokes behind hooves and the clearing turns to fog. Luna leaps for the shoulder again and feels hide slide under teeth. She said, "Hold and turn it." Ash skids and regrips with tiny claws burning. Thorn collides and the elk tilts forelegs, knifing the crust. Rook rakes the flank and carves a path into gravity. The clearing tilts with them and the end starts to arrive. The elk falls to one knee, and the world cracks open. Luna said, "Finish clean and breathe." Ash freezes for a shard of time, and then steps to her flank. Elderthorn takes the neck with a grip like winter iron. Rook anchors the hind and drags the last strength away. Steam roars from bodies, and the cold chews every edge. Luna tightens and feels the fight leave through her jaws. She said, "Hold until the forest answers." Ash trembles, pupils wide, learning the cost of meat. Thorn's breath slows and the snow calms its rise. Rook releases and stares at the silence he helped make. The elk stills, and the wind returns like a witness. Luna lowers her head and accepts the debt they owe the night. The silence after the kill is broken by the sound of wings above. Ravens circle, their shadows dragging over the snow. Luna said, "The dead draws more than crows." Ash presses close, eyes wide, tasting both pride and fear. Elderthorn steps back from the carcass, his muzzle stained red, and his breath heavy with age. Rook lingers at the flank, eyes sharp, as though the kill belongs to him alone. The forest shifts, branches creaking, as if the night itself leans in. Luna feels the truth heavy in her chest. The fight is not over. She said, "He is not our ally, only our rival." Ash whimpers and hides behind her legs, knowing instinct speaks louder than words. Thorn growls low, a sound more warning than command. Rook lifts his head, grin raw with hunger, and takes a step forward into claim. The air grows colder, though the snow no longer falls. Luna said, "We share or we fight." Rook answers with silence, his eyes burning, body crouched to spring. Ash shivers, too close to both hunger and danger. Elderthorn steps between them, his stance wide, fur bristling like frost-fed fire. The carcass steams, its gift of survival now turned to curse. Luna steadies, ears forward, her chest rising with resolve. She said, "This is not the enemy we choose, but the one forced upon us." Rook snarls, lips curled, and the sound rips through the clearing. Thorn lowers his head, ready to bleed for balance. Ash yelps softly, but his gaze remains on Luna, waiting for the choice. The standoff deepens, breath fogging the night. Rook steps closer, snow crunching under his weight, and his growl carries the hunger of a storm. Luna said, Ash, stay with Thorn. The pup presses tighter, fear clinging like shadow. Thorn growls again, his eyes narrowing, body ready to meet the clash. Luna moves forward, her paws slow but steady, her body blocking Ash from Rook's reach. She said, I will not yield. Rook snarls louder, but his eyes flicker with doubt, knowing Luna's resolve is a wall. Ash whimpers, yet his gaze shines with a small fire he does not understand. Thorn breathes deep, holding himself for the moment when words no longer matter. The forest waits, holding its breath like a witness to betrayal. The night cracks when Rook lunges, teeth flashing like blades. Luna meets him, jaws colliding with a sound that shakes the clearing. Ash yelps and ducks low, pressing into Thorn's chest. Elder Thorn roars, his voice deep, stepping forward but holding the pup safe. Luna pushes against Rook, snow exploding beneath their clash. She said, This ground will not be yours. Rook snarls, eyes wild, and presses harder, hunger driving rage. Thorn growls, ready to join if Luna falters, his loyalty a wall. Ash trembles but does not run, his small cry carried by the wind. The forest groans as branches bend, carrying the echo of battle deeper into the night. The struggle shatters into silence as Luna twists, throwing Rook back into snow. He lands hard, chest heaving, but his eyes remain sharp. Luna said, This fight ends now. Her muzzle drips with blood not her own, chest thundering. Ash peeks from Thorn's shadow, eyes wide, awe woven with fear. Elder Thorn steps closer, his breath steady, his gaze hard with warning. Rook rises slowly, shoulders tense, but does not leap again. The night breathes heavy, the air alive with tension unbroken. Luna said, The herd is our enemy, not our own. Rook growls low, but steps back, eyes burning with bitter fire. Thorn exhales, the sound final as stone. Ash whines, pressing closer to Luna's leg, feeling safety bloom in her shadow. The forest trembles with echoes of the fight, but a deeper silence soon follows. Luna said, The night does not forgive weakness. Ash presses close, his body quivering with both exhaustion and awe. Elder Thorn moves to the ridge, his breath heavy, muzzle stained with old scars and new blood. Rook lingers in shadow, pacing, his hunger unspent, and his eyes locked on what remains. The wind drops, and the stars open above like cold witnesses. Luna lowers her head to Ash, her voice quiet but cutting. She said, You have seen the cost of survival. Thorn growls softly, warning that danger still waits beyond the carcass. Rook's growl rises low and bitter, before fading back into silence. The herd's scent fades, but the taste of blood lingers thick in the air. Luna said, What we took will not last forever. Ash noses the snow, uncertain, his small chest heaving. Elder Thorn drags the carcass deeper into shelter, each pull heavy with age and duty. Rook follows close, eyes sharp, not to help but to remind them of his claim. The forest creaks, a warning that the balance has been broken. Luna watches the dark horizon, knowing storms gather faster than peace. She said, The fight is not behind us, but before us. Thorn pauses, exhaling, his strength thinning like smoke. Ash whimpers, but his eyes cling to Luna, his faith born from fear. Rook snarls softly, his breath fogging the night like fire trapped in ice. The night deepens, the wind sharpens, and hunger remains unsatisfied. Luna said, Survival demands more than flesh. Ash licks frost from his muzzle, trying to quiet his shivers. Elder Thorn lowers himself, weary bones trembling beneath fur, his breath loud in silence. Rook stands tall, his frame sharp, his eyes alive with defiance. The elk's blood freezes on snow, turning red to black under moonlight. Luna steps forward, her body stiff with resolve, her gaze fixed on Rook. She said, You are not pack, only shadow. Rook snarls, chest heaving, but does not leap. Thorn groans, his voice soft, yet filled with warning. Ash presses tighter to Luna, his small body trembling like a leaf in the storm's mouth. The forest speaks in groans of ice, as the warning of cracks deeper than snow. Luna said, "The herd will return, or another will test us." Ash lifts his head, fragile but listening. Elder Thorn struggles to rise, his legs stiff, yet his eyes still burn with command. Rook circles again, his paws cutting arcs into the snow, his silence sharper than growls. The night tilts toward a new reckoning, and Luna steadies herself, heart racing. She said, "The storm is not in the sky, but here." Thorn breathes slow, trying to anchor the pack against fracture. Ash whimpers, his fear shaping his shadow. Rook halts, eyes glowing red under starlight, and waits for Luna to falter. The clash arrives without warning. Rook lunges again, his snarl slicing the stillness. Luna meets him, her body colliding like thunder breaking sky. Ash yelps, hiding, yet his eyes refuse to close. Elder Thorn roars, forcing himself forward, his teeth ready despite failing strength. Snow bursts upward, shards glittering like shattered stars. Luna said, "Not this time, not ever." Rook snaps and twists, but Luna holds firm, her breath burning fire into cold air. Ash cries out, a thin sound swallowed by the storm of bodies. Thorn clamps Rook's flank, pulling him away, his final strength burning. The night fills with sound and silence braided together, survival written in blood and breath. The storm's howl fades into a silence that feels like judgment. Luna said this night writes its own scars. Ambles, his small body pressed into her side, still wide-eyed from the clash. Elder Thorn staggers, his legs heavy, blood marking the snow in dark patches. Rook lies near the carcass, breath ragged, his defiance alive even in weakness. The stars blur through moving cloud, dim light bending across frost. Luna steadies herself, her chest heaving, her spirit refusing collapse. She said, "We remain, though the world would not have it so." Thorn groans low, his breath weighted, his eyes dimming but fixed on her. Ash whimpers, a fragile sound, but his gaze burns brighter than before. The night holds them not with mercy but with inevitability. The wind sharpens again, carrying whispers of something more than hunger. Luna said, "The forest is not finished with us." Ash stares at her, his breath quick, his ears twitching with each sound. Elder Thorn lowers himself near the carcass, his age carved into every motion. Rook shifts, his growl weak but venomous, his eyes burning hatred that refuses to fade. The trees creak, snow falling in sudden sheets, as though the land itself listens. Luna holds her ground, her eyes set on the horizon, knowing fate never bargains. She said, "We pay in blood, and still the debt grows." Ash whimpers but does not hide this time. Thorn breathes heavy, a sound like farewell carved into cold air. The carcass dwindles, its gift already half devoured by teeth and cold. Luna said, "This will not carry us far." Ash presses his nose to the meat, but pulls back, eyes on her instead. Elder Thorn rests, his ribs showing, his strength almost gone. Rook rises slowly, shoulders stiff, his snarl muted but alive. The night sky clears, stars flooding the frozen world with silver light. Luna breathes deep, her heart heavy with the truth no fight can erase. She said, "Survival is never victory." Ash whines softly, confusion and courage mingled in his sound. Thorn exhales, eyes closing for a moment too long. Rook watches, every movement filled with hunger and bitterness. The silence grows louder than the storm. The trees groan with wind, carrying voices that sound like memory. Luna said, "Every breath we take belongs to what was lost." Ash lifts his head, eyes reflecting the stars, hope and dread bound together. Elder Thorn opens his mouth, a low growl that turns into a sigh, his strength breaking like ice under weight. Rook circles slow, his body bent but his will unbroken, the shadow refusing surrender. The cold gnaws deeper, sharper than hunger, sharper than teeth. Luna steadies her stance, guarding Ash, her breath a rhythm against despair. She said, "We walk forward, even when the earth calls us down." Ash presses to her leg, his small heart pounding against hers. Thorn lay stiller now, his eyes a dim ember. Rook snarls faintly, waiting for weakness to fall. The night's weight settles, a truth older than wolves or winter. Luna said, "Nature spares nothing, not even us." Ash leans into her, shivering, his eyes lit by a spark too fragile to last. Elder Thorn exhales one last time, his chest stilling, his journey closing without sound. Rook halts, watching, his snarl fading to silence, though hatred still coils inside. The stars seem closer now, brighter, as if marking the end. Luna lowers her muzzle to Thorn, her breath mixing with his last warmth. She said, "Your lessons remain, even as you fall." Ash whines, pressing tighter, his small heart torn by grief. Rook steps back into shadow, his presence as heavy as absence. The forest breathes again, cold and eternal, the debt of life never forgiven. The dawn bleeds slow across the ridge, painting the snow in muted gold. Luna said, "Another day waits, whether we are ready or not." Ash lifts his head, his small chest rising, eyes wider now, shaped by loss. Elder Thorn lies still, his body already claimed by silence, yet his presence lingers like stone. Rook lingers near the shadows, his breath harsh, but his step hesitant. The wind softens, carrying not threat but the weight of memory. Luna steadies herself, her gaze far beyond the forest. She said, "His path ends here, ours must carry further." Ash presses tighter, and the moment binds them, fragile yet unbreakable. The herd has vanished, but their ghost lingers in broken tracks. Luna said, "Every trail leads to risk, but risk feeds life." Ash stumbles forward, his paws clumsy but determined, ears pricked. Rook follows behind, eyes sharp, silence bitter as iron. The snow crunches louder than their breath, each step heavier with memory. Luna steadies her pace, the leader no one chose but none can deny. She said, "Survival asks everything, even when nothing remains to give." Ash whines softly, yet his eyes hold the fire of youth. Rook's gaze never leaves Luna, his rivalry carved deeper, yet bound by the same hunger. The forest opens to a frozen lake, its surface cracked with veins of ice. Luna halts, her eyes scanning the horizon, as the wind carries emptiness. Ash noses her leg, his courage fragile but bright. Rook steps beside them, his gaze sharp, but no lunge follows. The silence is heavy, the kind that remembers blood and loss. Luna said, "This is where we breathe before we walk again." Ash tilts his head to the sky, watching a crow wheel above. Rook growls low, not from anger, but from the ache of hunger unsolved. The lake groans, a reminder that even the earth breaks when pressed too far. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of distant prey, faint yet alive. Luna lifts her head, her chest rising with the burden of choice. Ash whimpers, pressing closer, sensing what lies ahead. Rook growls, his eyes sparking with hunger, his body already coiled. Luna said, "Every breath costs, but we cannot stop." Her paws press into snow, carving the first step into the unknown. Ash follows, clumsy but unwilling to break. Rook lingers only a moment, then steps into their path, unwilling to be left behind. The forest swallows them once more, its silence heavier than storm. The ridge narrows, the forest bends, and the world grows quiet once more. Luna halts, her breath visible in sharp clouds, her eyes fierce. Ash leans against her, his heart beating fast, but his gaze fixed ahead. Rook stops a few steps away, his silence a shadow that refuses to fade. The sky cracks with a streak of light as dawn climbs higher. Luna said, "We walk into tomorrow, no matter what it takes." Ash whimpers, but the sound carries strength, not fear. Rook lowers his head, his silence answering more than words. The echo of Elder Thorn lingers in the snow, binding them to the truth. Survival is the only law.